You are listening to the Starter Girls podcast with Jennifer Loading, where extraordinary decisions produce extraordinary results. These are my friends, these are your friends, and they are living the extraordinary. This episode is brought to you by Walt Mills Photographer of Glad Models Agency. If you are here in the Dallas or surrounding area looking for some photography work, check out Walt Mills. You can learn more about him at photosbywalt.com. All right, guys, we're going to get things started here. Today is a great day to be brave. You might as well start now. You have the power to change your circumstances any day you decide. Let today be that day. Rise up, be amazing, be you, do you. All right, my friends, I'm super excited to welcome my guest to the show today. We've got, Erik Cabral, the owner of On Air Brands and Podmax, and Josh Cary, co-founder of Podmax. Welcome to the show, guys. Super excited to have you here.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Awesome.
All right. And you know, I get a little excited, so if I get a little animated, you guys just got to roll with it, okay?
We're going to match your level. No worries.
I think we'll keep up.
All right. I love it. I love it. All right. So what I want to do, I want to start off because my listeners are going to be like, okay, what is Podmax? So I want you guys to tell us a little bit about what this is and who you guys are serving. So whoever wants to take this over, go for it.
Yeah, I'm going to pass this to Josh. He's so eloquent when he comes to describing what Podmax is. So you take it, brother.
Well, thank you. And I love the SAT word, eloquent. I will take it every day to describe the communication skills. So seriously, Podmax, thanks for asking. It's really an all-day event for entrepreneurs where we give them the chance to record as a guest on multiple top shows relevant to their industry. And in between recordings, we offer a master class with plenty of training and education, lots of networking opportunities, and a fantastic high-level keynote presentation. What we found is that the people we attract to this event, founders, CEOs, executives, really get lost in the mix of their business, and they realize that they're the ones personally who want to make the impact, who want to shine, who want to change the world. And they're starting to know that podcasts as a guest is really the way to create the content you need to make that happen. So over the course of the event, we also work with them prior to the event to really help them identify, practice, and rehearse and communicate that message. So when the big day comes, they are going to nail those recordings and move on with their lives.
I love that. Awesome, Josh. You did a great job explaining that. I love it. I love it. You got me totally sold on this. I love it. It's all about the presentation, right?
Absolutely.
I guess so.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so what I do want to ask you both, because both of you have done other things, obviously, and I think that's the great thing about entrepreneurs is that many of us are wearing many hats. We have our hands in different things, but I always say that what we do is always connected. It's like it sort of, you like have this center, I say like the skeleton, so to speak, and then you have all these things that go around on the outside of it that just sort of overlap. So I guess I want to talk a little bit about what you guys are doing outside of that and how that sort of influenced what's going on now.
Are we supposed to have a life outside of this? I'll let you know, Erik. I didn't know. I didn't prepare for that.
Well, we have fun. It's kind of hard to have a life outside of that, right?
Yeah.
We try. I mean, I'll grab it from here and then I'll pass the baton to my brother. So first and foremost, thank you, Jennifer, to you and your tribe for having us. It's truly an honor. Love your production level. It's all very high end, and everybody should try to reach the bar at this level. So you're inspiring us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So first and foremost, I try to be family first, and that is one of our core values of our companies. Is that we always prioritize family. Be the best husband, father, brother, whatever it is, and then we support each other in that. And when I say we, by meaning our team. And our team always comes to the table, with a problem or a solution. And we say, what's the priority here? And if it's family, if it's something that you need to take care of, we understand completely and we support you and love you on that. So first, I'm a father and I am a husband. And now I'm a co-founder and founder of businesses. So with what we've done, Josh can speak, as you can see, very eloquently about that, but I will backtrack and take the DeLorean to what happened for me and how we got here to this day. Is I left corporate America after 20 years and I realized that was a rat race that I needed to get out of. And I didn't understand why I was unhappy, and I didn't understand why I was out of shape. And I didn't understand why every day seemed like Groundhog's Day. And it wasn't until I was laid off for the second time in my career, which I'm blessed, only 2 times after 20 plus years. I started to evaluate where I was, and I had a conversation with my wife and said, "Hey, what's the runway here? You know, how much savings do we have if I wanted to do my own thing?" She said, so we did the math, and it was a couple of years. Great, right? I mean, blessed. I mean, how many people can say they actually have 2 years of savings? So with the grace and permission of my wife, who is the CEO of the household, said, do it, rock the house, man, try to figure this out. So I decided to leave creative. That was 20 plus years of being in the creative industry, design, graphic design, video, everything you can imagine when it came to creative. And I decided to leave that. I was done. I wanted to retire from that and went into real estate investing, of all things, investing. So I had to surround myself with anything and everyone who knew more than I did in that industry. So that's what I did. I built a network and friends for life and partners, and they helped me to achieve those goals in a very short amount of time. So as a result, I started to lean, and they started to lean on my superpower, which is creative. And they are left brain, data analytical type of people, as you can imagine investors to be. And they're like, Erik, who's doing your logos? Who's doing your branding? Who's doing your website and your social media? Well, it's all me. So I said, do you need help with that? Sure. I'll do a logo. I'll do a website. I'll do whatever it is for free, offering value because they gave me value. So that turned from 1 partner to 2 partners to 3 partners. All of a sudden I had half a dozen clients that I needed to start outsourcing help to get the work done, which created On Air Brands, a social media and marketing agency. So On Air Brands started to grow and develop. And through that was my personal podcast, Entrepreneur Circle. And then people started to notice that, hey, we want that too. You do podcasts? Yeah, for me. Can you do one for me? So then now my clients started to get podcasts as a service. So then now it all starts to make sense. The network and podcasting all merged together to create Podmax. And wonderfully so, as the universe loves to answer the call, Josh Cary landed, parachuted into my world and said, hey, I'm here. You need help? And I'm like, 100%. I need you. I need you in my life. And we built Podmax. And everything that he described to you, is really our hyper focus right now, with ancillary sort of business and clients falling into the on-air brand side. But Podmax is really, really where it's at right now. And we are full-fledged, full steam ahead on this mission to serve the most we can in a short amount of time.
I love that. Josh, would you like to add to that a little bit?
No.
You guys are awesome.
No,
so go for it, because I want to add this. But go ahead, Josh. I want to hear from you.
I'm eloquent still with the word.
I love the word eloquent.
I know. Thank you, Erik, for bringing it up. I will add the one thing that my history comes from the fact that I spent 40 years hiding. I'm known as the hidden entrepreneur. That's the name of my show as well, because I spent decades hiding, showing up in every situation, hiding all of my talent and ability in exchange for desperately seeking the approval of others. Didn't want to rock the boat, didn't want to make you feel insecure about your shortcomings. So I dare not show you what I'm capable of, because that might trigger something in you. And I didn't want to be on the receiving end of that nonsense. So years and years went by where I just avoided it altogether. The frustration came when I knew darn well what I was capable of doing all my life. I knew it, but resisted it. So that caused the anger, the upset, the frustration. So finally, I had enough. Today, I'm the proud father of 2 adoring children, a 7-year-old daughter, a 5-year-old son. Early on in their young lives, I realized, I see what's happening here. I'm the one throwing the temper tantrum. I'm the child in this circle. And I knew that I desperately had work to do, not them. And I said, continue on. I'm going to finally make the adjustments I need to. And through that work, which is really, going to be with me till the end of time. It's an ongoing process. Through that time, only when I stopped seeking the external approval and found it within is when I miraculously found myself in front of Erik, who saw what I was doing because I was finally displaying it, no longer hiding it. And he said, you and I should continue this conversation. Let's continue talking and let's see what's possible here. And I said, this is great. I'm going to continue showing up. And here we are.
This is so awesome. You said so many things that stick with me. First of all, I want to talk about the networking because I think that is immensely important, immensely. You know, because when I'm working with people personally, one of the things I always say is when people are stuck and they don't know where to go, they need to meet somebody. There's somebody else that needs to come in their space to give them an idea because, you know, you guys touched upon so many things. I think the networking is huge important. But also, Josh, you said something I think that is really neat because I can resonate with some of the stuff that you're talking about, that holding in your superpower and really having to have that. I don't even know if it's like this epiphany moment, but you come across that path or that position where you recognize that you've been like shortcoming yourself all these years because you had something that you were afraid to showcase for whatever reason, right? And something I learned a long time ago in one of my network marketing companies, and I don't have to say it. Usually if I say a couple things, people know where I was, but I was in a leadership position in that company. But I always told myself that I was shy and introverted. And I always say, don't get me wrong, because I like my alone time. I like to have my space, but I got to be back out doing my thing, right? And I got to be talking to people and networking and doing all that stuff. But for a long time, I prided myself on that. And one of the things I heard in that company a long time ago is that being shy is almost really about being selfish because you're really worried about what everybody's thinking about you. When you have something that you could give to people, right? But we're holding it in because we're afraid of what everybody else thinks. And so I can absolutely resonate with both of you on your stories at different times, being in the corporate world and being, you know, God first, family second, or whatever that is for you, career third, you know, and that whole idea of harnessing your superpower and coming out to do something great. So you guys have definitely, I think, are bringing some different elements to this, which I think is fantastic. And that's what's making this roll really, really well. The different personalities, the different qualities, and the superpowers. I love it. It's awesome. All right. Good stuff. Okay. So I got a question. I don't know which one of you wants to take this, but if somebody, because you guys are both podcasters too, and so you've been in this background for a while, I'm guessing longer than I have actually. So if somebody wanted to start a podcast, would you guys have any like amazing tips or something that you'd recommend for somebody just kind of looking, or maybe starting something new, just kind of going into that entrepreneurial space?
You want to take this, Josh? You want me to take it?
You got it.
When we talk to clients or anyone who says, I want a podcast, you know, the first thing we ask is why? And then they'll go, well, because everyone has a podcast. Okay, so why do you think you need a podcast? Well, because I have, I have some stuff that I want to sell. Well, what is that? And then we try to go deep and peel back the layers to get to the core. It usually takes about 5 to 6 whys. And if they can get to a point where they recognize and understand that I want to start to offer value in people's lives, I want to start helping people, then let's continue this conversation. Because if you're doing it and you don't understand why you're doing it, you're not going to stick with it. Because as Josh and I and you, Jennifer, know, you know, there's pod fade in the industry. That's something that's, you know, you can't make it past 8 to 9 episodes because it's not a passion of yours. You don't have a strong why. And in anything in business, you always have to have a strong why and passion for what you do. So when we can identify that person and their passion, yes, podcast is for you. Okay. Do you have the strength to continue this journey for 6 months to a year? We always recommend a minimum of 6 months to a year so that you can start to see the benefits, because as we all know, and anyone who's a podcaster that's been doing it for a while, the ROI on podcasting is not something that's quantifiable, right? And I love the quote from Gary Vee. It's like, what's the ROI on your mom? There's so many variables. There's so many things that make up what podcasting is today. We can't answer that question for you. You have to answer the question for yourself. For me personally, it's about the network. It's about finding new partners and relationships and building upon those relationships, which in turn into lifelong friends who we begin to work and help each other. So that to me is the power of podcasting. To many others, it's something else. You know, a lot of people come into it thinking it's radio, it's traditional radio. And they always ask, well, how do I get ads? How do I get sponsors? And that's not necessarily the end goal, although it may seem on the surface that's something you want to accomplish right away, right? Because there is some validity to that. But if you can understand that when you turn the mic on and there's someone else on the other side, you're going to start to establish a really deep relationship on that one-on-one conversation that you wouldn't normally have the opportunity to have. So that's where I think podcasters should really come in with that frame of mind before starting one.
That's good. And I think that is so true about a lot of things when people are taking on any type of career, because I think so often, you said so many good points there. I think so often people start something because it sounds good in theory. Like it sounds like a great idea because everybody else is doing it. Or it's kind of like I talk about, when I joined my first network marketing company, I thought, well, everybody's doing it. I want to be an entrepreneur. It sounds good in theory. Wasn't even passionate about the product, and I can't get behind anything I'm not passionate about. And so I think that idea that you're asking all those questions, because I will tell you, for me, when I started, it's kind of like, I feel the same way about writing a book, because I wrote a book. I find the same thing with writing a book. You're not going to get rich off of a book. A book is an extension of you. I say it's your business card. It's a way to network. It's a way to show people who you are. So I think that is important, that whole idea that you've got to get to the why. What is the passion? Because if you don't have a reason why you're doing something, it's not going to keep you moving when you have the lows. When you realize you're not making a lot of money at this, you're not going to stick around, right? You're going to be like, this is not working. So I agree with you 100% on that. And got to have the why. Stories sell, right? Go ahead, Josh. I'm sorry.
And Jennifer, I find that, no, I'm sorry. I find that there are two kinds of people who come to us and say they want a podcast. It's those who think they are going to be the next Joe Rogan, and those who realize it's not about becoming the next Joe Rogan. It's so much more. The biggest epiphany, the surprise I had a couple of years ago when I began my podcasting career, I knew theoretically what it might do for my business, right? It's a marketing arm for my business in so many ways. But what I got blindsided by was the fact that this extraordinarily helped me increase my confidence, my self-worth as a person. Who knew that just by interviewing people and doing this, that I would increase my confidence 10, 20, 50 fold, because this is a skill that you can get better at. And the list goes on and on of the benefits. So we help people understand the much bigger win that a podcast can do for you. So we might attract people who say, oh, I want to be the next Joe Rogan, but that's like Erik said, now we're going to sit down and have the real conversation with you and surpass all that nonsense.
So good. So good. I love it. So many great takeaways there. So where do you see, you guys have said so many things. And so with this whole Podmax thing, you guys are like, I think you're just like kicking butt with it. I love the whole concept and what it is. I love it. So where do you see this like going long term? Do you feel like it's going to be growing bigger and bigger? Like, where do y'all see this? What's your vision for the future with this?
Oof. Short answer is yes. We do see it growing.
I hope you're going to say that. I mean, I would hope that. But I don't know if you'll have like some bigger grand scheme here.
We do. We have a major, bigger grand scheme to literally take over the world. And the reason I say that sort of in jest, but with all the truth I can muster, is because these days we are actively having the conversation about our next 12 months. And then that's sort of taking us, oh my God. And then that 12 months can get us to 3 years, 5 years, and then, the next 15 and 20 and where we want to go. So yes, we have great big plans. I'll let Erik take it from there.
Yeah. Without going into too much detail, and we can go as deep as you want, Jennifer, but, from a 30,000 foot level, what Podmax was and is today was an event for solopreneurs, small to mid-sized businesses. And as we've grown to find, and, we've done about 10 of them so far, we started to realize that was difficult to scale because it was tapping into our immediate network. And what we found when we started to do joint ventures and partnerships with larger brands that already had baked in communities, a built-in tribe of people who love and trust their brand. Well, when we merged with them, there was less of the marketing, the boots on the ground type of marketing where we had to pull and wrangle people. Do you know someone? Do you know someone? Do you know someone? Now it's all about, okay, we talk to one person, right? The thought leader in that community. And we say, hey, what are some of the products and services that you have? And here's what we have that can complement, that can add value to what you're doing. So then they say yes. we start a joint venture partnership, and they bring in all of their people into the community and into the Podmax event, and they all get to experience what we're doing, which is not being done, Jennifer. I swear, I've been to many virtual events over the past 7 months, and no one's doing what we're doing, to the point where, and I love saying this because it's such a pat on Josh and mine with the team's back, is VaynerMedia responded to us and said, hey, we see what you're doing. We recognize what you're doing. Can we meet and can we talk about how you do it so well? So we had meetings to sort of give them advice, which is crazy, right? Because we love, adore, and inspire to be Vayner and everything they do. So we have them in our ecosystem. We have them in our world because we have this relationship now. And we knew that we were doing something right if the big dogs are looking under the hood. So that's one little humble brag that I wanted to put out there. But at the same time, that is where we are today, and to move forward with those connections and with those people who are paying attention, they want to be a part of us. They want to help us grow. They want to help us expand. So they inspire Josh and I to come up with the 12 to 16 month plan. And what would we do if given the opportunities to build and grow and expand the team and expand what we do? Now we've recognized through joint ventures and partnerships, and then finding more and more people that we can love on and give what it is we do, create content for them, come in, record a bunch of shows. Then as you leave the event, it's not over. We're going to create content for you on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and then we're going to write blogs based off of that content because you recorded it all with us in one day. So we're going to continue the relationship and continue offering value throughout the life cycle of our relationship, as long as, hopefully forever.
So good. So good. Thank you. I love it. Okay. So I'm going to ask you guys some fun questions. I got 2 questions I want to ask you, and then we're going to move into some super fun here. So you said so many great things today. I don't know which one of you wants to take this, because I kind of want to hear from both of you, but and I'm asking this because you guys have very different personalities. So I want to see how you tackle this. When you are going after something, what does that process look like for you? Tell me what that mindset looks like. Who's taking
Josh,
it?
You go.
Go, Josh.
Ask me the question again, if you can. Is this from a business standpoint?
Yeah, from a business standpoint. It's a mindset. I love mindset questions. So when you're tackling something, going after this goal, gonna grind this out, what does this process look like for you?
I will look at the whole, and then I will sit and I will envision what needs to be done. I'm also a very mindset person. I'm all about the intention behind things. Why am I doing it? Does it feel right? Is this the right thing right now? Why is it the right thing right now? And then it's all about that action. Nothing gets done without taking action. I will map out a couple of things, just a few of the first steps, and saying, that's fine. I got the first few things in here or on paper that I need to do. And I will just start scribbling it out or mapping it out and taking the action. And then when I get through the first few things, I'll say, oh, okay, now that presented itself. Now I got to do this. Where am I going from here? Wait a minute. What if I can think bigger, and how can I really think bigger? And am I thinking big enough? Am I thinking further along enough? What are some of those roadblocks? What are some of those pitfalls? What am I not seeing? What might come my way? Who do I know that I could probably pull in to really take this much further and go from there?
That's good. Erik, you want to add anything?
Sure. So my process is obviously different. The ideas are always coming, and Josh can tell you he's the same way. And when we get together, it's just an explosion of ideas. My problem, my challenge is always there's too many ideas, and I don't know how to vet them, right? So what I love to do is I ruminate, I think about it internally, and then I start to see if day 1, day 2, if it's sticking, I'll start to put it out there. I'll tell Josh, I'll tell my business partners, hey, I'm thinking about this idea. And I can't stop. So when it gets to the point where it's not going, I start to put it out there into the universe through podcasting, through there's times where we've had live shows and it's an idea that just came in my head, and I'm like, hey, blah, 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 blah. And then I want the feedback. I want people to let me know if that's a good or a bad idea. And then I'll take action on it. If I start to see, okay, I'm getting a lot of positive feedback from this, let's move forward. That's actually how Podmax was created. Ideas, let's test drive, let's put it out there. One of the early episodes of On Air Brands podcast, you can hear me talking about it and trying to figure it out. And it's just funny how, like, I love the whole, and this is a big, I mean, Gary Vaynerchuk might as well be a sponsor on the show, but it's like, he always talks about documenting the journey. With podcasting, it's fabulous because we get to literally document day to day what we're doing as we iterate and create. So that's what I love to do. I love to use our medium as a soundboard, and then start to really the team. It's all about the team, and then having them create, having them be the hands that produce and make it all a reality. Because as you know, Jennifer, and I imagine you're creative as well, is like, you have the ideas, but you can't do them all. So you're going to need people around you that can support those ideas so that it becomes a reality.
This is so good. I'm laughing while you're talking about this because I was just telling somebody, I think it was yesterday, today I was talking to someone, and I said, you know how, like, you'll meet entrepreneurs, and then you meet those, like, creative entrepreneurs, the ones that have these are the ones that have their hands everywhere and the ideas. So I laugh about this because today I was telling her, I'm like, this is what I do. I have ideas, and it's like I throw a noodle at the wall, and I like see which one sticks, like which one's going to go, because this is my life every single day. I have stuff is like popping like this every day, and I can't, like, harness it in. Like, I have to find people. I'm like, okay, I got this idea. Who wants to hear my idea? So I totally
like,
get
yeah,
it.
Yeah, Jen. All right, what's the brilliant idea this time? We don't have any shortage of ideas.
Right, exactly. 100%. And I honestly, some of my best conversations are when I sit down with people that can generate ideas, because, like, somebody will say something to me and it will trigger another thought about something else. I'm like, hey, we should do this together. We should do this, so I absolutely get it. And this is one of my favorite questions because I really like to dive in, and especially with everybody's personalities being so different. I had a gal, one of my shows that went out today was a lady that she worked for, I want to say Microsoft. She came from the corporate world, created her own business, and she basically goes in and determines, like, one of 7 soul types. It's basically what you were born with, your superpower that you're born with. And so she says this plays out in your creative process when you're doing your work and when you're coming up with ideas and stuff. So part of the thing, like what Josh was talking about, because one of the things she said to me, for instance, like, I'm a navigator. Like, I just take an idea and I run and I go, and I don't really I take 2 to 3 pieces of information, and then I just run with it. I'm like, this sounds like a good idea. Give me 3 sources. Okay, those look good. Let's go. I'm not going to research, because then I start getting overwhelmed with all the information. And so she goes in and she can tell you, based on whatever these questions are that she asks, how you operate in business and how to really, like Josh mentioned earlier, find your superpower. Like, we can find it quicker. We don't have to take as long to determine what it is. I'm like, I wish I met her like a long time ago, so I wouldn't have had to go through like all these 20 years of trying to figure out what I'm really supposed to be doing, right? So, all right, one of you, I don't know which one of you wants to answer this. But what I want to know is how you define success. And you both can take this one. What does success in your words look like?
Oh, Josh is giving me the nod. I didn't have an answer to this a few years ago, honestly, Jennifer. And I finally came upon it relatively recently. And it's happiness, really. That's the success gauge for me. What's that meter look like? And it varies from day to day, obviously, but overall, right? Over the course of 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years, what has the gauge mostly been falling on? And it's really happiness. And I found that working myself to the bone during corporate America and my early entrepreneurial days, burning the wick, the candle at both ends, was not healthy. And I started to incorporate, what's happening now with all the craziness. I found solitude, and I found meditation and yoga, which has made me stronger as an individual, because I knew I should have been practicing those things. But it's really changed my life, and it's made me a better person for my business partners and my family. So I think really being able to leverage those things and identifying when are those opportunities available, like now when we have time on our hands, that's really, really powerful. And to be honest, I forgot your question, but I hope I answered it.
You did. No, that was all good. No, it's what is success? You said it, happiness. And that is like almost every person that comes on my show, that's what they talk about. It's joy, it's ease, it's happiness, it's living in the moment, it's being able to do what you love to do. And it's so crazy because
100%.
I feel like so many people go through life and never figure out that piece of life. They're in constant search for happiness, and then at some point they just decide that's not an attainable thing. Like you just can't find it. And I think it comes from doing what you love to do. I think it comes from finding those things that you feel like you're matching your gift with your passion and being able to play that out to serve others. I think that's when you find that what you're talking about, happiness.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome.
And I think purpose is really powerful. When you could find a purpose in life, you know, you get up in the morning, you're like, okay, what's my purpose? What's my mission today? Who am I going to help? You know, that really is the driving force and also the reason to get out of bed and be excited and joyful about it. And then gratitude is obviously I'm telling you, I found these things out recently. So like if you hear these things and they seem cliche, it's so true. You know, gratitude is the key to abundance and all that, you know, all this happiness and joy. And Josh can talk all about like the internal mechanisms and drivers and constantly working on yourself in order to find happiness. If you want to take that, Josh, because I always hear you talk about it.
Well, I will just go back to the question Jennifer asked, how you define success. And I'll bring up the sibling to Erik's happiness, which for me is unwavering optimism. And I find that the more that I can wake up and live my day with anticipation and excitement and optimism, wow. I mean, what more can you want in life? And thankfully today, these days, and the days just keep building on themselves. And one great day of a majority filled day of optimism becomes 2, becomes a week, a month, and it's 3 months, and it's 6 months. And less are you having moments that you're ashamed of, embarrassed, not proud of. And you have more of those optimistic days. And the more you stack those, for me personally, that's a life worth living and leading. And that's the win. And that's success all day.
That's so good. So many good points there. Yes. And I agree with you guys on all of those. I'm familiar with all of that. I do meditation. You know, I talk about this when I coach people. I mean, I talk about gratitude journaling. I talk about waking up with enthusiasm. You know, when this is the thing, I feel like when you are doing what you're supposed to be doing, you wake up like that. You wake up feeling passionate about your day. And even when stuff happens to you, you recognize that bad things are going to happen, because bad things happen to good people. Things happen, right? We know this, but you wake up with a passion and a purpose, and you know what you're doing. And when you can find that, I think it supersedes all that other stuff. I think that's what's motivating you guys and keeping you moving and doing what you're doing. And I think it's awesome. I love it. I love your energy. I said this when we were on the podcast. I think you two just bring different pieces of, and that's why I said both of your stories resonate with me, because I feel like you both bring different pieces of what I believe in and my values and all of that to the forefront. And I love it. It's what's making you guys successful in what you're doing. So I want to ask some fun questions. These are not that you guys have said so many amazing things today, but now I got to ask you a couple fun questions because these are my favorite. So, and whoever wants to take it, or you both can take it. Are you a morning or night person?
I always labeled myself as a night person. I'm not a morning person. I hate getting up. I was always late to work. It was a terrible habit to get in. It wasn't until recently that I started to realize you can turn yourself into whatever you need to be. So now I'm a morning person. You know, I get up at 6 o'clock. And it's funny because during all of this lockdown and stuff, I was telling Josh, this is a big struggle of mine. I'm sleeping in, I'm going to bed late. He sees me texting him at 1 o'clock in the morning. And I said, I need to get back on track. And he said something so obvious, and I'm hoping this probably lands for some people who are listening. Not only do you try to wake up at 6 or 5 or 4 in the morning, Monday through Friday, you have to do it 7 days a week, every day. So Josh, thank you for that. Once I started doing that, and my wife's like, why is your alarm going off? It's Saturday. Because I need to get into the habit. And so since I started doing that, it's consistent. It's awesome. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
That's good. No, and I agree 100%. It's so funny.
Yeah.
On Saturday and Sunday, so I get up at 5 every day, but on Saturday and Sunday, I set my alarm for 6. I give myself 1 hour. But I'm like, I have to be up because the pets are calling, and like I like to get up in the morning. I have a lot to do. I just have things I want to slay the day by noon. I don't care what day of the week it is. I want to be done.
Slay the day.
Yeah, Josh.
Awesome.
So I'm assuming you're a morning person then.
I actually have the exact same answer as Erik. Prior to this, better iteration of my life these days, I was a night owl, and I did some, bad habits at night that, needed to change. The obvious, when it first happened, I was like, okay, I should probably stop doing that every night if I want some semblance of a better life. But I loved being the night person. And then I started realizing, well, if I'm reading these books and these articles and these biographies, and every successful person is like morning, 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 I'm like, there's probably something there. So I got up in the morning to see what they were talking about, and it's never going back.
Yeah, you can get a lot done, in the dark hour before people get up. True story. Seriously, you can get a lot done. Quiet time, right? I love this. Okay, here's a fun one for you. What is your favorite food?
Oof. You go, Josh.
Favorite food. I love bananas slithered or slathered. What's the word there? Slathered? Bananas slathered with peanut butter.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Peanut butter and banana. It's making me think of marshmallow and peanut butter because my mom used to make me fluffernutters when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, it's so good.
It's like so awful. It'd be like terrible. You'd be like, get all that sugar down, get it down your throat. That's good.
Yeah.
Erik, what's your favorite food?
I love Spanish food. The simpler, the better. I love going to a restaurant and experiencing high-end cuisine, but I dated this girl for a long time, and her mom used to just make rice and beans and pork chops, and that was such comfort food for me that every time I have it, it just takes me back to like simple days, and like, wow, it's just so filling, and there's laughter, and like she had a huge family. So yeah, it always like, I don't know if you guys saw that movie Ratatouille, but like when he eats and then he gets thrown back in time to another, when he was a little kid.
That's funny.
I get those feelings.
Yes, we all do. All right. So here's a fun one. This may be my last fun one. If you were stuck on a deserted island, you can eat. There's food there. You don't have to worry about that. What would be the one thing you'd have to have? The one thing.
Oof. Oh my goodness.
What would be
As
important
Josh
to
can
you?
tell you,
This is
I eat oatmeal every day. Every day. Like the first meal, I do intermittent fasting.
Okay,
So I can
yes.
eat at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and the first meal has to be breakfast.
It has
And it's
to be
usually
breakfast.
oatmeal. Yeah.
I like breakfast too, but mine's bacon and
love
eggs.
it.
But I used to do intermittent fasting too because I did keto for a long time, so I know the intermittent fasting too. Josh, what about you?
Breakfast is the best.
So we're talking about not necessarily food, though. You're
It
talking
doesn't have
about,
to be
right?
anything. Yeah, anything.
Yeah, I carry this. I've mentioned this on other shows before. I carry this this little coin with me. It's from the Stoic philosophy. It says Momento Mori,
Yeah.
and it translates into meaning, remember, you will die. And it's just a constant reminder that we're all here for a very, very short amount of time, over before we know it. Even best case scenario, I'll live another 50 years. Best case, in 50 years, I'll be 96. And if I make it to 96, nobody's going to say, oh, that's so unfortunate. 96. No, it's going to be incredible, right? He
Right.
made it to 96. How wonderful. So even best case scenario, 50 years, it's going to be over in the blink of an eye. And this is that constant reminder.
That's awesome. Keeps you alive, right? I love it. Okay, so you guys, this has been amazing. You like embarked so much great information. I love it. Anybody that's wanting to check out, of course, Podmax needs to reach out to you guys and see what you're doing. So here's what I want to ask you. If our listeners wanted to learn a little bit more about you and Podmax, where do we want to send them?
Podmax.co is the place to go, as I love to say, since kind of landed on that, rhyme by accident. But yeah,
That's
that's
awesome.
the best place to go. Check it out and find out more about what we're doing, how to sign up. We have events running every month pretty much. So yeah, we got one coming up, and then we have one coming in the early part of 2021.
Perfect. And what we'll do is when we get this put together, we'll make sure that we get the website on to get everything in the right place where it needs to be so we can.
Yeah,
Make
we
sure
can
you
give you a
guys-
link as well
Awesome.
if
That'd
they
be
want to use
perfect.
Jennifer's link. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So this has been great. Thank you so much for being on here. Like I said, you guys embark so much information. And I think what you're doing is incredible. And I love it. And I love the fact that you guys are kind of, I don't want to call y'all like unicorns, but you kind of are a little bit in your field, you know? It's a good word. It's kind of like, we always talk about being a hustler. Like people don't like that word. And I'm like, I like being called a hustler. That means I'm working. It means I'm doing something, right? I'm okay. I'm going to own that word. So you guys are doing great. And I want to tell you, thank you for jumping on here and taking the time. And so to our listeners, of course, if you enjoy our show, please give us a rating on iTunes. Check us out on iHeart and Amazon. And hit the subscribe button on YouTube. And with that, I want to leave you guys with a couple final thoughts. Listen to the mustn'ts, child. Listen to the don'ts. Listen to the shouldn'ts, the impossibles, the won'ts. Listen to the never haves. Then listen close to me. Anything can happen, child. Anything can be. And that is by Shel Silverstein. And remember, to have success, you have to make a decision, and every decision, or excuse me, you have to start, and every start has a decision. All right, you guys take care, be safe, and be kind to one another. We'll see you next time.